Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It is Friday morning, September 1st, 2023. It's about 10 minutes until noon Central Time. I'm doing this today as my weekend video because I'm going to be out of town for most of the weekend and I wanted to get this out of the way. Plus, I want to show you things you can do intraday rather than just end of day. Before I go any further, I have to post this standard risk disclaimer. Any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. Now, before I really get into it, I want to show you a few charts that I've added and or maybe run through a few things on the market side. Where I'm going to start here is I'm going to go to my designer and I'm going to my Major Markets Plus folder. I'll take the filter off by holding the Shift key, and I'm going to use the NYSE composite. I'll drag this down and then I'm going to click on my quick pick. If you go up to your market charts, the second chart I put this in this week because I wanted to have a single visual to compare the internals for the NYSE and the NASDAQ to one another. So if you look here, and I'm using the NYSE, which is NYA. It's already up there. But this is today, and it's not registering any of these internals today because this information comes at the end of the day. But this is as of last night's close. Here's the NASDAQ advancing declining stocks, NYSE AD, NASDAQ AD volume, NYSE AD volume, new highs on the NASDAQ and new highs on the New York NYSE. And the reason I did this is I wanted to compare the internals, or I want to compare the internals of the NASDAQ to the NYSE with all of these factors, AD volume, new highs, new lows. So I get a quick read here, and you can see that last night the internals for both the NASDAQ and the NYSE actually turned slightly negative. Not a huge amount. The AD volume did the same thing on the NYSE. The declining volume surpassed the advancing volume. On the NASDAQ, it was about equal. New highs, new lows. NASDAQ's holding up. Actually, the NYSE is further from the line. It's just a chart for visual to help with market timing. That's all it is. Now, the market's had a good run. We all know that. I want to move over here to my market analysis user groups, and I'm going to go into my broad market indices. I'll click on the S&P 1500, and then I'm going to go down to my HGSI index charts. I went over these, I believe it was last week, and I'm not going to go over all of these. Let's just take a quick look here. I'll take the crosshair off. So here's the 1500 now. You can actually see that more stocks have moved up and it crossed the moving average line. So that's on the 20, the 30, and this is a percent above the 50. It's not above its moving average, and the 200 is flat. We're getting a red candle today because it opened a little higher and then started trading down. So this actually looks pretty healthy still. Let's go down to my potential buy and sell on the 1500. Right at this point, this turned yellow, which is a potential buy. And it is a potential buy because we had at least 3-to-1 on the advancers versus the decliners and the advancing versus declining volume. The other indicators were green, but the force 13 was not. And then this was followed by a buy signal on this effort to rise. And that this is Friday, so that was on Tuesday. Now, this is a broad index. Let's take a look at a little narrower index. And this is the NASDAQ 100. It looks like the buy signal was on the same day. There was a buy back here, though. You can see this on an effort to rise, and then a sell the following day on this big down bar. Obviously, it just follows the flow of the market, but it's on a buy signal. It remains on a buy. Let's look at another index. Let's go to the S&P 500. And you can see that here's a potential buy here, and the buy was on the same day. So we're still on the buy side based upon these charts. Now let's do one more index that I've got in here. It's stocks in HGSI industry groups. And this is a light green buy here because the advancers versus decliners were between in the 3-to-1 range, higher than 3-to-1, but not up to 5-to-1. So that's why these are light green, and that's why the color of this buy bar is not a solid green, but still on a buy. If you look at this closely, you'll see there is a light green bar up here. So these stocks are running at least 3-to-1, between 3-to-1 and 5-to-1 positive for the day on the advancing versus declining issues in this particular group, which are stocks in industry groups. Now that we know the market looks pretty healthy, let's move on to some other things here. I'm going to go into my reference groups, and I'm going to click on industries, and you can see all the industries are over here. I'm going to go to my tools menu and build indexes and groups, which rebuilds all of the industry groups with the current information, the current stock information. It takes just a few seconds to do this. Next, I'm going to use my tools menu, go down and rebuild my user smart groups. Now I've got quite a few user smart groups, but it still doesn't take very long to do this. I'll just let it run so you can see how long it takes. Now, of course, I'm recording. That takes a lot of the computer resources. Normally, this would have been finished by now. Almost there. Okay, now what I want to point out, well, a few things I want to talk about. I introduced my money flow groups a couple weeks ago, and I've been tracking those. And the first thing I want to do is go into my non-index groups, and I'm tracking money flow here for the past several days. You can see yesterday's money flow was here. This is September 1st. Here's the first money flow, which requires that the industry price change from one day and beginning of the week has to be positive. So I'm going to click through to this, make it full screen. You can see there are 120 securities in here. This was the money flow yesterday. In these were the groups that were showing strong money flow. And this group right here, automobiles, was positive yesterday because otherwise they wouldn't be showing up in this group. And you can see that the group is somewhat negative today. Rivian's holding up. LI, FSR are holding up. The only one that's down is Tesla out of these. So the money continues to flow into automobiles with the exception of Tesla, which has been real hot as far as accumulation lately. Now, casino gaming, you can see the group is still up slightly, but these stocks that appeared in the money flow, they're not doing as well yesterday or today. But here's an easy way to tell. Out of these stocks where the money was flowing in yesterday, I have this slice here. It's called intraday percentage price change. One day you can see that 74% of these stocks are following through today, which is really good. Now let's drop down to the next money flow, which had no industry group requirement as far as being positive both one day and since the beginning of the week. And I'm going to sort on intraday price change here. So there's less emphasis on the group, but these stocks still had to all be up yesterday. And let's see what percentage of them are following through today, and this is really good. So the money flow from yesterday's showing that nearly 74% of the stocks that passed this yesterday, stocks that were up, are up again today, and only 26% are down. So that's pretty strong. What were these groups? Agricultural machinery, application software, and so on. You can see there's a mixture of prices up and down. But my point is, this is a good way to see where the money's flowing both in and out. Now let's take a look to the downside. This is where these are stocks that were flowing, where money was flowing out yesterday. And there was only 69. Let's see what the percentage looks like there. Well, you can see that there's money coming into some of them, 35%, but 64% of them are still going down. And here's money flow out, the larger group, which had no requirement for industry groups going down. Now let's take a look at that and see what the percentage is. This one's closer to 50-50. So some of these stocks that were down yesterday, where the money was flowing out, the money is flowing in today. So you can look at these groups, and let me get back up to the top here. You can see which of these stocks where the money was flowing out yesterday, it's reversing. Now here's a stock, I don't know anything, well, I'm not interested in that. Let's move this down, get this out of the way. Well, another stock I'm not interested in. But you can see that there are bottom fishers coming into a lot of these stocks. That's what it is. You have to look at both the weekly over here and the daily to get a feel for the trends. But definitely money has been flowing out of some of these stocks that I've been showing you. Now let's take a look here at the current money flow intraday. Go to the user Smartgroups, and if you go down to this group right here, it's the third group, 100 stocks and groups moving up and down. Now these stocks have to be up for the day, $15 and above or 1 to 15, and have to be down today, $15 and up or 1 to 15. So I'm going to go to the first one, click through on it, get this out of the way, bring it up. If I click on this, you can see 100% of these stocks are up for the day. Now if I sort on the industry group percentage price change, and remember that I rebuilt the group, look what these stocks are. It's being led by Dell Technologies. It's up on earnings. Pure Storage, Seagate is up, which I don't understand, and Western Digital. I don't know what these two are making for products now, but they're going along with the group. You can see how important groups are. So let's just take a look here. I'm going to look at Pure Storage. I looked at this myself earlier on the Skype board. I made a comment. I said it's finally starting to break out. And this is not the chart I want. I want to go down to my number 2C chart. And you can see that the group has turned up. We're seeing that on the intraday down here. And because I rebuilt the industry group, this reflects what the current price is. Now this stock, Pure Storage, still has to get past resistance, but after this huge move up on earnings. You can see that it's been bouncing around and making progress in no direction. But if I draw a, let me bring up my drawing tool. And I'm going to just draw this across here. I mean, that could be considered breaking out, but I would really like to see it get past this level. But you can see the volume is coming into this stock, which is good, and it's in a strong group, so it may go. Keep your eye on that stock, PSTG. Okay, let's take a look at some more here. Educational services. I pointed out on the Skype board this morning that one of the educational stocks, I don't see it here, it's probably in the under 15 or 1 to 15. I don't see it right now. Let me bring up an educational stock. It's updating. That's what's going on right now. Okay, you can see that this group is moving up. You can see this nice base here. This one's starting to go. The stock I mentioned on the Skype board was LAUR. And you can see how nicely this one is setting up too. It just didn't come up in the top 100 when I did my recent scan, but it's got a strength coming in and then a confirmation of that strength, and it's in this group that's headed up. You can see that it gapped up on earnings. It's been holding steady on the weekly profit taking, but now it's setting up again. So it didn't show up in the scan this time, but it did earlier. That's how I found it. Now, when you're in a group on these scans, you can right mouse click and change to the industry group, and then you can see every stock that is in the group. And I'm going to sort on raw combo. And here's a stock right here. So it's up 2.66% today, trading at 100% of its intraday range. And it is in this same group. It just didn't show up. It didn't make the top 100 list in my latest scan, but it did earlier. These scans can be run anytime during the day. The lists are going to vary. The scans don't take the industry group percentage move into account. It's based strictly on price of the stocks, but I still like to rebuild my industry groups and then see which of the industry groups are doing the best along with the stocks in those groups. And I pay a great deal of attention to the range of the stock, intraday range, because here we are at midday, and if these stocks are holding near the top of their range, that's really good. See, there's a lot of refining and marketing, oil and gas, because gas prices are up. Now, this is a lot to go through. I mean, there's 100 stocks in here. You can flip a lot of charts. You can narrow this down in a hurry by running scans that only look for stocks that are crossing over today. What I do is if I'm prospecting that way, I go into my Ron's Daily Prospecting Scans, Impulse Reaction, Intraday. These are stocks that pulled back slightly from a high, and then I see which of these are doing well. Let's just bring one up here. Okay, so this pulled back from the prior day's high, and it's set up nicely. The 3 pulled back, the 3 and the 6 pulled back. It looks like to be about flat, not quite flat, setting up nicely, and look at it going today. This is part of that educational group, one of the leaders. So that is an impulse reaction. These are the 2-day crossovers from the VPOC, this column right here. This one is a VPOC positive with a 2-day window on the 3-6 crossover. So I'm still in this same group, but you can really narrow these down in a hurry if you're looking for certain triggers. Now, continuing on with this, if you're looking for leading stocks, I'm not going to go through all these. I've done that in other videos. But if you are looking for leading stocks, you can go to the 52-week high. These hit a recent 52-week high yesterday. You can see the 0 in this column. Or the perfect speculator stocks are stocks that have recently hit a 52-week high or a 3.25-year high. And if you want to concentrate on box stocks, just go under the earnings momentum scan here. Folder. And go down to HGSI box stocks every day. Intraday, not every day. So right here, these are box stocks. And you can see that they're all up because they're in the same group. And if I sort on, well, it's already sorted on industry percentage price change. Look at this. Educational services. These are box stocks or stocks with consistent earnings growth. If you'd like to limit your stocks to those, this is the place, or this is the scan to use. I also have Can Slim type stocks, 20% revenue and EPS growth. That really narrows the list down quickly. And if the fan's up, it didn't really change anything, did it? And this, I misspoke there because these both have the fan up, and then if I go down here, this doesn't have a fan requirement on these Can Slim type stocks. So if you go to number 9 right here, all Can Slim type stocks, there's no fan requirement, and these would be the stocks that meet those revenue and earnings growth requirements. Let's just bring this up. And I'm going to click on this, and you can see that this stock has really had nice earnings and revenue growth compared to the same quarters 1 year ago. And that's why it's showing up in these Can Slim type stocks. Look at this nice pullback, strength coming in. Here's a test right here. The group's moving up, and now it's right at the breakout point. But it's been riding the 3 and 6 up. A lot of information is contained in that chart. And I believe that's all I want to cover today. Actually, let's go back up here, and I want to look at the most actives. These are the most active up based upon a filter I have, and you can see Dell, Seagate, and so on. It's sorted on industry groups. If I sort on percentage price change, you can see here's a big move here. Was this an earnings day? No, I don't know what the news is on this. But you can really use the combination of these intraday groups just by running the scans, intraday updating the user Smartgroups, and then applying other views, filters, and combos. It's a great way to narrow down your searches and find a lot of good candidates, just like I've been showing you today. Okay, I'm going to end it at that. Have a safe and happy Labor Day weekend, and I'll be back next week. Thank you for listening.